Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Race Course, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Also brought to you by Wizard Race and Sports.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Thursday morning of the final week of Saratoga racing. But as we said on the handicap report, nice morning, looks to be a nice day. Horses are loving it. The Jim Bond horses are walking out in front of us. You've seen all morning horses working out behind. So a nice day of racing ahead, leading into a nice final weekend as well. It's Fan Appreciation Weekend as well. You can check out the NYRA website. They have some deals and some 2-for-1 deals and whatnot coming up this weekend. Also, it's the Windbreaker giveaway. We'll alert you to that as we get closer. So it should be a fun weekend coming up as we close things up here at Saratoga after a fun summer up here. Coming up on the show a little bit later on, John Panagot, jockey agent, Manny Franco, Florent Giraud. We'll talk a little bit about the agent game and more with John. Flavien Prat will stop by. We'll talk about the really nice meet he is having, certainly in 2024 at Saratoga. So all of that coming up a little bit later on. But as usual on a Thursday, a visit from the Daily Racing Forum. And it was Dave Grenig's final visit last week, Mike Welch's final visit this week, and always fun to talk to the folks at the Racing Forum. Mike, good morning.
Good morning.
We always like to get a little update. You guys are out watching the workouts typically. We've touted all season long the workout report from DRF. First off, anything notable this morning out there? And second, workout report, will that lead into the early part of Belmont at Aqueduct as well?
We are planning to do the early part of Belmont. How far in we go, not quite sure yet. Probably at least through the first week of October. Anyway, it's just a matter of logistics and manpower. I'm not sure if we're going to have be able to sustain it throughout the entire meet, but we're going to certainly, the month of September should be covered.
And anything notable out there this morning?
Quiet morning today. It's been quiet all week, basically. I mean, things are winding down. There's no racing next week. Outfits are starting to pack up and move out. So typically, the middle of the week is quiet anyway, but certainly much more quiet that we've seen leading up to this point. We will have turf works tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be busy over at Oklahoma on the turf works. And I'm sure we'll have some business this weekend, but things are winding down for sure.
Let's, again, a little preview and review, but let's do a little review. Let's take a look at the stretch run of the Travers. I've said it now a few times over the past few days. This will go down as one of the better editions of the Travers. Fierceness gets it done. I was rooting for the filly. She ran fabulous. They both wind up with a solid 111 fire. I mean, she goes forward notably. But what were your thoughts in the Travers?
What a terrific race! You just this what's this meet's all about, and this race is all about. And you hope it comes down to something like this. You get two on the wire, and Sierra Leone right behind them. Dornoch, obviously a bit of a disappointment, but after two, gut-wrenching efforts, I guess it's maybe not a total surprise there, but great effort by the filly. And what can you say about Fierceness? Everybody had kind of thrown in the towel on him, after the Kentucky Derby, but the tip of the hat to Todd Pletcher and all the connections over there. They backed off on him, skipped to Belmont, got him right again, and he's just certainly worthy of his 2-year-old championship last year, coming back with the two big wins here so far.
And we have Flavien coming up later. He's had a great meet. Dylan Davis, a great story. Irad going well. The human side, as always at Saratoga, the human side. But John Velasquez on board for Pletcher and Rapoli on board. Fierceness winning.
Yeah, it's great to see Johnny V have a win like that. Obviously, he doesn't ride the volume of or even the quality of horses he used to before, but he's had a pretty good meet and put up two terrific rides on Fierceness here. So it's great to see that.
Yeah,
Johnny's a great guy.
And then I believe you had the coverage in the forum the day after of the Jerkins domestic product. We'll take a look there. Comes out of, they took the shot in the Derby, ran second in the Pegasus down at Monmouth, and then the one-turn mile down at Belmont at Aqueduct, and the Dwyer follows it up in the Jerkins on Saturday. Domestic Product. Interesting 3-year-old going forward now. Seems to maybe be turning a little bit of a corner. He's put a couple of triple-digit buyers together, but Domestic Product looked good again.
I actually liked him going into the Derby. I thought he trained terrific, and he had some trouble, and he had some equipment or shoe issues as well. And Chad just backed off, decided to turn him back to one-turn races, and it's proven to be the right thing to have done. This was a great effort. I mean, up to this point of the card, if you remember, you had to be like 1-2 in every race during the early running to have any chance. And I know Chad was worried about that with Domestic Product, and even more so with Sierra Leone. And then Domestic Product broke slow and still overcame that, worked his way through the field, and was able to get up in time. So a huge effort there. And it'd be interesting to see moving forward what they do choose for him as they head towards the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I would love to, be in the room as they're debating those, because certainly a 3-year-old with some talent. All right, let's take a look stakes over the next few days. Today we have the With Anticipation. I said earlier, interesting, you have Good Long Cry in here, a filly facing the boys. She could have gone yesterday, but she elects to go here. I pulled up a replay of the maiden special weight race from July 20th without caution. I thought the Cherie DeVoe runner sat off a little bit and then came late and won. I like that from a 2-year-old. But Zulu Kingdom and Cavallo Bay, both European imports, one for Chad, one for Charlie Appleby. Tenacious Leader is interesting, maybe a price for Todd Pletcher. What did you see in the With Anticipation?
I think both Todd Pletchers are alive in here. Don't forget Nudge was in this race and got caught up in a pretty suicidal speed duel, and he's still in the picture here, right? He only got beat a couple of lengths, and he's come back and worked well since that. So I look for him to improve. He's a maiden, but we saw what happened yesterday. Yeah. Maiden won the stake yesterday, so it can happen in these kind of races with their very lightly raced young horses. Obviously, without caution, was the lesser regarded of the two Cherie DeVoe first-time starters in that race last week, and he was the one that came out on top. Test score, you have to respect Tim's first race. He finished second at Governor Sam, a very fast horse of Wesley Ward's, who came back off that race and won the Tyro at Monmouth. Reach for the Rose, Saffie Joseph, first and only start on grass, finished second at Gabaldon. Gabaldon only came out of that race and ran second at Ascot. And then he came back and won a big race on the slop, or ran a big race on the slop at Gulfstream. Zulu Kingdom and Cavallo Bay, obviously big question marks coming out of Europe. Not sure what to do with them. And then Tenacious Leader, like you said, big effort. Last time the race rained off the grass onto the main track. Obviously, Todd wants this horse on the grass. He put him back in here today, and he worked terrific the other day. I thought second best, but worked really well with Talk of the Nation, who's a older graded stake horse. So I think he's a real good-looking long shot play in here as well. So good luck with this one. This one could go to anybody.
Yeah, fun field. And as you were talking, Reach for the Rose. I may have to take an extra look at that one, because they were bold enough to debut in that winning you're in for Ascot, and then
that race was a field full of mostly first-time starters, because it was very early in the season. But the effort he put forth to run second to Gabaldon, obviously Gabaldon, a very, very nice horse who was supposed to run here at this meet. I think he had a little bit of a setback. He hasn't worked all that much over the last few weeks, and they've been some 3-ace work. So not sure where he's going to show up next. But like I said, he came out of that race and ran second at Ascot. So that flatters Saffie Sauce for sure.
Tomorrow, it's the Saranac Grade 3 event for the 3-year-olds on the grass. $175,000 up for grabs. Pulled up a replay of an allowance race down at Colonial. We're going to look at the process. The process is going to be the number 4 horse here. Cherie DeVoe again, coming out of that win at Colonial. So I thought this horse was interesting. I wound up putting Yo Daddy on top, however. The Linda Rice runner coming out of a nice starter allowance win up here. In between those two, I put the Big Torpedo, New York bred for Tom Morley, coming out of a New York Stallion Series win. It's a short field, but it's kind of an interesting field. Your thoughts on the Saranac tomorrow?
Yeah, I think this is pretty wide open too. I mean, the process, a very impressive effort here on the grass. Big improvement buyer-wise. Yo Daddy, the horse you like, has 2 paired up 90 buyers in his last 2 starts, but those were on the dirt. Now he goes back to the grass, which he handled earlier in his career. So see if he can move forward off of that. You have 2 Brad Cox horses in here. West Hollywood coming off a big win on the grass over this course last time, which you like to see.
Yeah.
And then the question mark of all question marks, Take Me to Church, who has had all his races so far in Europe, blinkers on, full work since coming here, hasn't run since May, so not sure what to expect from him. And as you mentioned, the big Torpedo, who may wind up going off the favorite, coming out of two very easy victories against New York breds. Tom Morley talked to him yesterday. He called them penalty kicks leading up to the real deal here when he moves back into open company. But he ran an open company in the Woodhaven and might have been best that they didn't have a great trip, just got beat there too. So you can really make a case for just about everyone in here. And the Villain is the sixth one, coming out of a well-graded win at Monmouth. So I don't think anything would totally surprise. But again, that big question mark on Take Me to Church, not sure what he's been running. Well, I know what he's been running against. I'm not sure what to expect from him. He ran in the Irish Guineas in his last start, one of the most prestigious races over there, and finished fifth of 8 and got beat 8 lengths. And the winner, Rosalian, is now a multiple Group 1 winner over there. So he held his own. I mean, certainly not disgraced against some of the elite across the ocean there. So, class-wise, he's probably the one to beat. So good luck sorting this one out.
Yeah, Lindsey Schultz, trainer Villain, kind of hit the radar this winter a little bit. Only one start up here, but it'd be interesting to see what that runner can do as well. All right, let's turn our attention now to Saturday. We have some stakes action, as is typical on a Saturday, a number of stakes races, and let's start things out taking a look at the Prioress race number 10. I pulled up a replay going back to the Union Avenue. This one's going to be interesting in here. Going out for Jeremiah Engelhart off a relatively quick turnaround, but did it last time in the Union Avenue. The race we're looking at here, this is Tricky Temper. I thought that horse was intriguing in here. Too Sharp is lately raced for Phil Bauer, was having a very good meet, but comes out of a really good-looking maiden breaker. Carmelina comes up from a win in a stake at Colonial. What are your thoughts on the Prioress on Saturday?
Great race. Yeah. And like you mentioned, Too Sharp. Who knows how good this filly is? This is really asking a lot of a horse to move into this kind of company with horses with this kind of experience and resumes off a maiden win. But boy, you don't see too many maiden wins like that. He won by 11. Probably could have won by 18 if Junior had kept riding her to the wire. She still got a 98 buyer for the effort. So again, who knows how good this horse is? She's come back and she's worked well since then. A real class test, obviously, today for her. On the bottom is Brightwork, who we're going to have the Spinaway Saturday. She won the Spinaway last year, has only run twice since, once in the Alcibiades and once in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Both of those races were around 2 turns. Turned now back to what she probably wants to do best. If you remember, she was entered in this test, and she acted up coming over to the paddock, flipped, and was scratched as a precautionary measure by the vets. It was the right thing to do. I know trainer John Ortiz was just devastated because this horse had trained just so good coming into that race. So I talked to him yesterday. He says she's doing just as well now. That was 7/8. This is 3/4. Doesn't seem to mind the fact that she's going to come back at 6 rather than 7. He says she's doing well. Drew the outside. Brightwork, a big question mark coming off that layoff, but very, very talented. I love what I see from her in the morning. And then again, some of the ones you mentioned, Tricky Temper, third start in 4 weeks for her, but certainly in peak form right now. Todd Pletcher has Autumn Evening back in here, first time for him since he's joined his barn, or she's joined his barn. I like this race. But I'm really focusing in on Too Sharp and Brightwork. Those are the two I'm most intrigued by.
Brightwork is clearly the interesting story, given what she did up here last year and hasn't been seen since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. And I'm intrigued to see what she does.
I mean, she ran an 89 buyer as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
That's a huge number for a 2-year-old. There's not many in here that run 89s as older horses, other than Too Sharp's 98. Which will he bounce back? Will he move forward off? She move forward off of that? She just might be a freak. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll find out tomorrow.
She's the interesting storyline, certainly. Spinaway, the aforementioned Spinaway, a grade 1 for the 2-year-old fillies, $300,000. They'll go 7 furlongs. I had to pull up a replay of the Queen's MG. Queen's MG starts the meet winning the Schuylerville at 44-1, betting public was a little more on board in the Adirondack at 5-2. Interesting to see what she goes off at on Saturday. But the Queen's MG, the number 9 horse here, 2 for 2 in the first 2 Philly Stakes of the meet. She tries to sweep the Philly series up here, but as is typical in these kind of 2-year-old races, it's loaded. Bellicose, who was subsequently bought in part, at least, by John Stewart and Resolute, comes off the big maiden breaker earlier in the meet. Sherbini for Marquez, I think is a little bit interesting. Immersive for Brad Cox. A nice full field, and I think a competitive field.
Yeah, you get these lightly raced 2-year-old fillies like this. You just never know who's going to jump forward and who's going to maybe regress a little bit. Interesting with Queen's MG, the buyer numbers are kind of soft. I was surprised she only got a 73. I know she didn't beat much, and Safi admits that she did not beat much last time. She had the perfect trip. I thought she'd get a little better number than that, than another 73, and we'll see what happens here. I think if she runs a real big number here, that 73 might change too, but we'll see about that. I think Quiet Side's a very interesting horse, much like the case with Too Sharp the race before, coming off a very easy, very impressive, pretty well graded maiden win over this racetrack. What's she going to do the second time? That's the big question mark. Again, John Ortiz fared very well at the post position draws. He got the outside with Brightworks, got the outside with Quiet Side. So we'll see. That's the biggest question in here, I think, is how she's going to react to her first start, whether she can improve off of that, and even with their lack of experience, it's relative in a 2-year-old race as compared to the lack of experience Too Sharp has against 3-year-olds in the priors.
Luis Saez on board, who maybe got up to a slow start, but
wow, what a day yesterday. I mean, not only did he win 4 races, but he did it on 3 of them, paid over $20. I mean, there were no slam dunks in there, and he got that last winner up in the final for Bruce Brown last night by inches, and what a day. What a day. And then, Louis is a great guy, and Kieran's got his book, so it's good to see that combo. You're right. They got off to a slow start earlier in the meet, but he's back on form now, and that's great to see. And, this will be his last weekend in New York. I believe he's heading out to – he might even be in Kentucky today, I believe, at Kentucky Downs. That's where he's going to be riding on and off over the next couple of weeks, but then I think he stays in Kentucky after that.
Yeah, folks are looking this weekend, and they'll see some of the regular riders. They're chasing the big money down at Kentucky Downs this weekend. Can't fault them, really. And finally, on Saturday, the Flower Bowl for the ladies going a mile and 3/8. I had to pull up a replay of Warlike Goddess, who, had a couple of races prior that maybe had people scratching their heads. Breeders' Cup Turf was facing the boys, but the comeback race was a third-place finish. That was okay, but I don't know if it was Warlike Goddess-like. But in the R.G. Dick Memorial last time, got back on track, the number 9 horse here, getting it done. That was early July, now comes back late August, but she certainly will attract plenty of attention. Nisi Marie is a little bit interesting for Butch Reed. Catherine Day Phillips brings down Millie Girl from Woodbine. I thought that was an interesting move. Eternal Hope for Charlie Appleby. McCulloch in here for Chad Brown. Your thoughts in the Flower Bowl?
It's the usual suspects in these kind of races. We've seen a lot of these horses before. Joe Hurst used to say, when you ask him who he was rooting for, he said the best story. Warlike Goddess obviously would be the best story, I would think. Maybe he's lost a step or two, but look, she's had 2 starts. The second one was better than the first off the long layoff, so you could logically think maybe she's going to move forward again. She's going to need some pace. She's going to need a trip, get a clear run in here, but it wouldn't shock me if she won. You can make a case for a lot of them. Nisi Marie, like you said, coming off, ran second here in the New York to Didya, and then came back and ran third a couple of starts later in the Beverly D after a disappointing effort in the Diana. McCulloch, another big one last time for her. No clear-cut choice in here. You've got 2 Euros to worry about, too, both Eternal Hope and then Verbier. Coming in, what seems to me to be modest form, but I'm not familiar with what she's been running against over there. But no group races, so maybe she's just reaching a little bit too far. But they thought enough to bring her over here for this. So interesting to see how she will fare as well.
Yeah, no, it's a fun Saturday of stakes action coming up on the weekend. Also, the Jockey Club Gold Cup on Sunday, the Hopeful. So, looking forward to a big weekend of racing. Before we let you go, any highlights of the meet for you?
I mean, just being here is a highlight of the meet. Obviously, the Travers has to be the number one highlight. I mean, just it usually is anyway, but to have it develop and turn out like that.
Anytime you get a race that gets that kind of hype and it lives up to it, it's
absolutely.
Always,
and we've seen some terrific new 2-year-olds emerge from here, so it'll be interesting watching them move forward. The Hopeful on Monday, one of them, Ferocious, that $1.3 million baby who ran to those expectations in his first start for trainer Gustavo Delgado. We'll see how he fares coming back here in the Hopeful. So that's a big start to what's coming up. In the fall and leading up to the Breeders' Cup, we have all the big races in New York, the Champagne for the 2-year-olds. So looking forward to those too. But we got 5 more days here to try to get even, and hopefully not even worse. And there's always you always got to have hope looking ahead. So hopefully the weather will hold up. Saturday, the forecast is calling for some rain. And I don't, after the meet we've had with the weather, nobody deserves that one. Hopefully we'll stay clear the rest of the way.
Yeah, gorgeous day today, and hopefully it plays out through the weekend. And some of the forecasts so far have been a little dicey as far as correct. So we'll hope they aren't correct on Saturday. Mike, again, appreciate the visit. You and Dave Grenning swinging by, always giving good information. Again, highly tout the workout report, which you say will continue at least the early portion of Belmont at Aqueduct. I know you're going to be down in New York for a little while before you head back down to home base in Florida, but appreciate the visit.
Great to be here.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, John Panagot, Jock's agent. We'll talk a little bit about that side of the game, a little bit later on Flavien Prat. Stay tuned. All of that right after this.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by our friend John Panagot, jockey agent, and more. We'll talk a little bit about the jockey agent side of the game. John, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
And why don't we start out? I always like to get background on people. And I don't think when you're 12 years old, you're thinking, I want to be a jockey's agent. So talk a little bit about first how you just became interested and got into the game, and then how'd you become a jockey's agent?
Well, I'm from Long Island, and family friends would take us to Saratoga for like a week or so, just because they had a house for business. They'd bring clients, whatever. And my father's friend said, "Why don't you come up with the kids?" When I was really young, I mean, a few months old. And as I got to kind of follow it and really pay attention, I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. I fell for it big time. I don't know if it was the jockeys, the horses, just the fans, the excitement, the competition. I knew that I wanted to do something within the business, and I followed it growing up. And then when I finished college, I reached out to Sean Clancy and Joe Clancy, the paper here, the Saratoga Special, and I worked for them for a summer. And then I met Graham Motion, who I worked for 3 years, kind of like a foreman and traveling kind of assistant. And I was doing some book work with him, booking jockeys and picking out races and kind of all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
You know. And then eventually I met a bunch of different people, built a Rolodex, which is the number one thing in this business. And my first jock was Javier Castellano, which is wild to say. You're not supposed to get your first jock's not supposed to be a Hall of Famer. So I had him for 3 years, and now I have Manny Franco and Florent Giroux.
And yeah, I was going to bring up you were part of that alumni from the Saratoga Special, and talk a little bit about that. I had Sean in because we had Saratoga Special guys in every Wednesday. I had Sean in yesterday. He talked about his son did an article this for the special at this meet, and we've talked years. Travis Stone, Gabby Gaudet, Brian Nadeau down on Gulfstream, all have passed through, and it is kind of trial by fire over there with the Saratoga Special. They don't hold anybody's hand.
It is. I think they have a pretty good idea within like the first week or two if this person's going to make it or not. So I'm proud to be have my name next to the fellow alum from the paper. So
again, it is a notable list. I just listed a few of them there. All right, I wanted to pull up a couple of races, and we'll talk a little bit about your jockeys because Manny Franco is having a very nice meet, and this is going back to yesterday in the PG Johnson. We'll look at Totally Justified getting it done in the stakes race. Manny Franco on board the number 7, Totally Justified. Talk a little bit about the meet you're having with Manny, and do you come in? Do you set goals? Do you two set goals as you come into a meet?
Not really. Every once in a while we will. Beginning of the year or whatever. Like Manny's the leading rider of Naira the last couple of years, and so it's something that you want to achieve again. And I think purse money kind of comes with that.
Sure.
So there's never really a purse target because the purses are always fluctuating. And if you win, you're going to make money. And coming into a meet like this, you really want to leave here with a few horses you didn't have prior, babies or older horses, whatever. But up here, babies are so prominent. So you like to leave here with a bigger stable, so to speak, than you came in with.
That's interesting. So up here, and you kind of alluded to it already, a lot of it is the connections and making those connections, following through with them. And I would suppose there's a lot of morning work for you bouncing around, but also putting your jock on horses in the morning.
Exactly. So that's a huge part of it here. Throughout the year, he breezes on weekends. It's seldom that somebody will ask for a weekday, but in Saratoga, you might be breezing 5, 6 days a week. And if you're not, somebody else is. So they're kind of claiming the territory if you don't. And we've won a few baby races up here that we didn't know the horses existed until we worked them, and that's a huge part of it here.
Talk about a day in the life of a jockey's agent. What is your, you get up in the morning and take us through the day, particularly up here at Saratoga.
Well, up here, so the night before I'll send Manny or Florent. Florent's in and out. He's not here every day. So he's a little different. So I'll use like a Manny example. The night before, when he's done riding, I'll text him what he has for the morning. And sometimes it's 5:30 to 10. and you try to, it's challenging. You try to, you try your best to kind of organize it so it's convenient. Maybe you can streamline works. If there's a huge break, that makes me a little uncomfortable because then he's just up for so long, and it just makes the day longer. So I'll text him his works the night before, and depending on where he starts, whether it's over here at the harness track or over there, he'll drive his car. I'll pick him up with the golf cart and bring him to the next work. And then the phone starts around, depends. Some guys are 4:35 with the text messages and, or phone calls about races entering that day or cancellations or whatever. So up here, we'll be kind of going through the works, and I'll handle the phone and drop Manny off at the barns and try to sort out the stuff for the entries that day. Usually the stuff that's happening early are for entries that day. And as the day goes on, it'll be the following day's entries or something else down the road. And when we're done with morning training, you get the scratches for the cards, see if there's anything that you can maybe pick up on that day. If somebody has something that's drawing in with no rider, or you watch the weather, and then you get ready for the entries. And you see what races are going, what aren't going, and if you have a problem, somebody asks you for a race, you've been holding it for somebody else, but it's a horse you've been riding, you see if it's worth it to take off the horse that you've committed to. You don't want to do that too much because it's unfair. I try not to do that. Sometimes you can't avoid it. And once you finish with the entries, you get the overnight and do the whole thing over again.
And I was aware that happened, but as you brought it up, I never really thought about that. But I'm guessing with not just with all jockeys, there are those situations where you have the horses maybe you've been riding in previous races. You've got a couple of horses, and you've got to make a pick. So there's a certain level of diplomacy that I would think is involved.
For sure. I mean, a lot of the people around here, they've been doing it so long, and they know they're not gonna get their feelings hurt. But if you have a problem, say for instance, you rode one that was second last time, and a race didn't go a couple times, and now it's 6-7 days later than it was planned to be. So that horse now is ready to run. So they call and say, John, I'm going to run this horse that was second earlier in the meet. And you're like, I gave it away. Let me work it out. So if it's your horse, I'll call you and say, Seth, listen, I just rode a horse that was second. I'm going to look like a real, dummy if I'm not on it. If I can get you, and here it's easier, not easy. I can get you Flavien Prat or Jose Ortiz or Luis Saez. You're like, no problem, John. Go ahead. Like you're doing me a favor because you can get these great riders. So that actually helps. It's very competitive here. This colony's out of this world, and it's hard to win races. But from that perspective, it helps a lot to have those guys around. If you're lucky enough for them to be open, to help you out of a bad spot. So I can call somebody up and say, listen, I can get you Tyler Gaffalione. I'm in a really bad spot.
So that's interesting. We talk about the connections. Part of the connections is maybe with other jockey agents.
Of course. Yep. Of course. Some guys are, smart to treat everyone the right way. And because you never know what you're going to get.
And I never thought about the mechanics of actually workouts in the morning. I never thought about that, but you say maybe you're over there at the harness track, because I get stuck a lot of mornings waiting for the horses to come across, and so there are plenty of them over there, but you may have to get your jock over there, and then maybe they're, I don't know, over on the Oklahoma later, and so you're just moving them around.
Exactly. Like during the meet, Chad Brown likes to do 6:45 at the harness, and Brad Cox or George Weaver will do a 7:30 at Oklahoma. So Manny will get there, and I'll pick him up after, kind of back up to pick him up so he can sprint out of there on the golf cart and go over to Brad. A couple times you get there at 7:30, 7:31, and you just got there. You don't want to hold anyone up, and you sure don't want to say, oh, sorry, I was busy with so-and-so. Like, I don't care about so-and-so. So
let's also, I pulled up another replay here, Florent Giraud. And we're going to take a look at on Saudi Crown. This was a few weeks ago. We had Brad Cox in the other day talking a little bit about this one in the R8 Cowboy Jones Saudi Crown under Florent Giraud. We'll get it done in here. He also, on the same day, won the Ellis Derby, also on a Brad Cox runner, most wanted. So a nice day out there. Talk a little bit about being a jockey agent for a guy riding out of town. What is the modus operandi there as opposed to a guy in town?
Well, the stakes schedule is huge for a guy like Florent. He's unique because he's always jumping around. During Keeneland and Churchill, he'll stay there, but during the summer, he's a little bit. He's got the luggage packed. So we're kind of looking at the stakes schedule. He rides primarily for Brad Cox, and we have to kind of line up where we think Brad's going to run or where Brad says he's going to run. We kind of weigh what else we have that day, and it's a lot easier now. When I first started, there was no Zoom with the draws, so you can be in Ellis or Kentucky Downs, for instance, which we started to enter for. Actually, opening days today. Florent is there. It's a lot easier as far as that goes because you can get the information quickly.
So they do the draw on Zoom now.
Zoom
is it
draws,
like every track or most tracks?
Yeah, most tracks.
Okay.
Yeah, one or two, maybe Oaklawn stopped doing it, but here they do it live. Obviously, you can go if you're there, but honestly, the Zoom has been great because you can have your computers up and easy phone calls, and it's a little more private, and you can be a little more organized instead of scrambling around everybody if something happens and we have to clean it up.
You live in town, right?
Oh, we do, yeah.
So this must be great being up here and being, just a few blocks or whatever from work.
Yeah.
The rest of the year, Jack down in New York or other venues around the country, and I'm assuming you probably travel around a little bit, but also do the computer work from home if you're up here.
There's certain parts, like at the beginning of a new meet, I'll go to Churchill or Keeneland or the fairgrounds or Florent. And Belmont, I'll go like maybe 2 or 3 times a month just to check in. My family's down there in Long Island. My wife has a business here in town, and we have a almost 9-month-old daughter. So nice. We're kind of new waters as far as that goes. But typically we'll do a couple months in Florida, a couple weeks in New Orleans and the city. So we're everywhere like the rest of the gypsies in this business,
And again, your jockeys are doing well. Florent, as I say, a couple of nice stakes wins down at Ellis just a few weeks ago, and then nice to be tied up with Brad and horses like Saudi Crown. Manny having another great meet up here, as you say. Last few years he's been riding very well year long in New York, and so that again, a lot of that is on your shoulders and tying them up with the right mounts. And I always appreciate having folks like you come in here because I think a lot of folks. We get a lot of new people at Saratoga drawn into the game, but I think even veterans don't realize the behind the scenes of things like a jockey agent. So I always appreciate the conversation. Appreciate you stopping by today, and good luck in going forward with your 2 jocks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, John Panagot. We'll take a break. When we come back, Flavien Prat will join us. He's having a great meet as well. We'll talk about that and more. Stay tuned.
Why just watch the races when you can be in the middle of the action? For nearly 20 years, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program has made thoroughbred ownership affordable for the everyday fan. Ownerships of 5% and 10% are now available on a nice selection of horses. As a partial owner with Bonaventure Stables, you'll enjoy all the benefits afforded every owner. Visit with your horse in the private stable area. Greet the trainers and jockeys in the paddock. And when your horse wins, savor the moment in the winner's circle at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, or wherever you bring home the prize. Based in historic Saratoga Springs, Bonaventure Stables has been training winners and creating memories since 2005. Learn more, see available horses, and meet our team at bonaventurestables.com.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by Flavien Prat. Jockey having a really good Saratoga meet. We'll talk about some of the stakes victories up here and more. Flavien, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about some of your races up here, and again, the great meet you're having, love to get background when we get people here. Now, you started things out in France and reading some bio information from you. Your father was a harness trainer.
Yes, he still is. My father, harness trainer, both of my uncle and my brother now.
So you ever get across the street?
Yeah, quite often. Yeah, I like it.
And I saw some video of you in the sulky. So have you ever driven in an official race?
Not in an official race, but yeah, driven before and started. That's how I learned how to ride horses on the standardbred.
Yeah. And again, reading the bio information, had the jockey school at age 13, and they said, "No, we got to wait." And so,
yes.
But when at 14, talk a little bit about jockey school and what that was like in France.
So yeah, 14, it's the minimum age that you can go to the jockey school, and you have about, I think it's 2-3 years of learning. You go to they put you with a trainer, and you do 3 weeks in school, and then 3 weeks with the trainer, where you do pretty much everything, and you do that for 2-3 years, and starting at 16, you can ride races.
Yeah.
And so the days after my birthday, I was able to ride. Yeah.
Champion apprentice, I believe, too, over there,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
I was champion apprentice. Yes.
Talk a little bit about, curious, the differences, if there are differences in racing and riding in France as opposed to over here.
Mainly turf races, a little bit of poly track, but mainly turf. So yeah, that would be the main difference. And distance, a lot more long distance race, and left hand turn, right hand turn, and straight as well. So a bit of everything.
What was your impetus for shifting over here to the United States?
So when I was a best apprentice in France, after 70 winner, you lose your allowance. And so my first full season, I had 62 winners or something like this. And I didn't want to lose my allowance at the end of the season. I was hoping I could, keep some winners for the beginning of the new season.
Yeah.
And get some momentum when I would lose my allowance, which didn't happen. But anyway, so I went to I spent the winter in California with Leonard Powell, and really loved it. And so after that, I came back again. Did another winter with him, and after that I did two winter with Richard Mandela. And so I kind of, I got an introduction of American races, and when I felt it was time to try to do something else and move on from France, obviously went straight to California.
And you were out in California for a while. What was the impetus to then shift over to New York?
I was doing very well in California, and I felt like it was I had some opportunity to come here. I did a full year where I was traveling all around the country, and I felt like it was the right time to try New York.
And I'm curious, looking at your resume, you've been at tracks not just all over the country, but obviously being from France, all over the world. I'm always curious to get opinions. I'm a hometown guy. I'm a homer, so I obviously appreciate Saratoga quite a bit. But as a rider, your impressions of Saratoga?
Oh, it's a very competitive meet. It's obviously, the whole town is, buzzing around the races. So it's very nice. It would be a bit of a Kentucky feeling, where everybody has knowledge on horse racing. It's great.
Get recognized around town?
Yeah, I don't go in town too much, obviously, like I said, people they know they have knowledge about horse racing. So it's great.
Yeah, you probably because it's early days being a jockey. And take us through, what's it like up here? What's your day like up here at Saratoga?
Mostly, you get a few breezes in the morning, and then you go to the races. It's 5 days of races a week, so it gets you a good week, a full week, and you rest for Monday, Tuesday. I had my family with me, so you just look around, see what kind of spot there is around.
Yeah. Lake, Baseball Hall of Fame, those kind of things?
No, we went to Montreal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of remind us a bit of France, but that was the main thing we saw this year.
Yeah, nice. I've never been. We're headed to Toronto in a while to go to Woodbine for the Woodbine Mile in a few weeks, but I've never been to Montreal. And I took French in high school, but all I remember is like bonjour, and it doesn't go very far for me anymore. All right, let's take a look at some of your stakes wins, because you've been having a phenomenal meet. And let me ask you, do you set a goal when you come up here?
Not really. I never really set goal. I try to go race after another, and try to do my best. And I figure if I do my best, maybe could get a good thing coming around.
Yeah, and you have to be happy with the results so far this year, certainly, because again, it's been a really spectacular meet, not just wins overall, but stakes wins. And we'll take a look at some of those. Just going back to last weekend, it was a great Travers Day for you. The win in the Allen Jerkins on domestic product. Now we're going to look at that one here. The number 3 horse getting it done in the Jerkins. This was 7 furlongs with 3-year-olds. A horse you had ridden a couple of times before, including the victory in the Dwyer. I'm guessing it's a bonus when you're getting on a horse for the second time or the third time, or I'm guessing you can learn something the first time that benefits you moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a horse that I had the chance to ride last year when he ran his first start, and I thought he was very talented. Then he went on and did some nice things. He went on the road to the Derby. And I think the cutback in distance was something that he really liked.
And again, it was a big win in the Dwyer, an open win. This one was by a neck. You feel he had it measured down the stretch?
I was definitely hoping. I had several choice in the race, and it felt like any of them could have won. So I definitely was hoping to get there first, but. Turning for him, I thought I was in a good position, and it was just up to him from that point.
Also on Saturday, the 4-go, another 7 furlong sprint. You were on board Mulligan for Rudy Brissett. Mulligan is going to get it done here pretty easily as the favorite. What's the feeling like when you're in a stretch like this and you look back and they really aren't making ground on you? I'm assuming this has got to be, when you coasted in the last 8, this has got to be what a jockey hopes for.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a great run from his part. Obviously, very pleased with the run, and I was very pleased for Rodolphe Brisset as well. It was his first grade one, and first grade one at Saratoga. It's great, and I think it was well deserved. He's a great horseman, and hopefully many more for him.
I want to go back the day before. That one was a daylight victory, but on Friday in the personal incident, a little bit different. The very talented Idiomatic opens up in the stretch. She's going to be the number 4 horse here. You sat back, and while they were out there dueling, you were just waiting, and the number 3 Raging Sea, Chad Brown and Flavien Prat, makes the late run here. What were your feel? When did you feel like maybe I have her?
I thought turning for home, I had every chance. At that point, it was just a matter of could she run down Idiomatic? It felt like the pace was hot.
Yeah,
it was pretty hot pace, and I was pleased where I was earlier in the race. And turning for home, I thought from there, if she's good enough, she'll get the job done, and she did.
How do you sense pace? I mean, is that something like a jockey school? Do they teach you that? Because you have to have that clock in your head to realize, oh, this is a pace. Maybe I want to sit back a little bit. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is slower. Maybe let me get up in a little bit earlier. Is that something you learn early on, or is you just get that with experience over the years?
Well, you obviously get that with experience, but you breeze a lot of horses in the morning, and you kind of get an idea of how fast you are going as well, and just the way the race look at. I mean, if you have a field who's everybody's bunched up, it seems like the pace is slow, and if everybody's kind of spread out, then it obviously look like the pace is hot. But there's also the fact that can your horse keep up the pace, or you on top of everybody? So those kind of things that kind of give you an idea as well of the pace.
Do you study before to kind of get a feel for what the pace might be and which horses may be out there, which horses you have to look for? What kind of like paperwork maybe do you do, or looking at replays?
I mean, I guess I'll study just like everybody else, but I like to keep an open mind, because
you may have to go to plan B.
Yes, and the reality is that we all study. If there's a slow pace, then we all know that there's going to be a slow pace, so we all want to break and get ourselves closer, and which makes the pace not that slow actually, and vice versa. So yeah, I mean, I study, but I try to keep an open mind and ride my horse how it comes up.
A couple of wins earlier in the meet in the test, ways and means again for Chad Brown. You had been on board in the race back at Belmont at Saratoga meet back in June. That was a nice win to kind of get a little confidence back after the Kentucky Oaks 4th place finish. And then you backed it up here, ways and means, a nice one. And as I say, with the experience under the belt, I'm sure you had a little idea of what you were going to get, but chart margin is a little more than a couple of lengths for ways and means. So I wanted to show that one, but then I wanted to back it up by taking a look at the Diana, where you're on White Beam. White Beam's going to be the number 6 horse here. This one on the grass. And again, we've shown some sprints on the dirt. Here's a nice grass win for you on White Beam, taking him pretty much all the way around. And that leads me into asking, do you have a preference, a type of race you prefer to ride? Long on the grass, short on the dirt, or some variation of those?
I really enjoy the dirt races.
Okay.
It's something that I really love, even watching. But no, I mean, I think as long as you have the best horse, it's obviously what you like.
I can see where that would work out. So in France, were there dirt races, or
no?
So you didn't get on the dirt till you got over here.
Yes. Well, we train on dirt, but
okay.
That's it. Yeah, turf or polytrack. Yeah, no dirt.
Let me talk a little bit about the difference, California dirt versus East Coast dirt. Any differences there?
No, yeah, the dirt are probably a bit quicker in California, where the speed can carry a lot more than down here.
Yeah, that's kind of been the case over the years as well. I wanted to show one more race and get thoughts as well, because we're friends with the folks at West Point, Terry Finley and Tommy Bellhouse and whatnot, and they had what clearly a lot of people think was the best horse, certainly of recent years. We're going to go back to the Breeders' Cup Classic of 2022. The number 4 here, easy to pick out. In the lead, and quite a ways in the lead, Flightline. You were on board for all 6 of the starts, 6 wins. Talk a little bit about Flightline. And, you get in a Chevrolet, and it might be a nice car, but you can tell the difference when you get into a Rolls Royce. And is it the same with a horse like Flightline?
Yes, it's exactly the same. Just a very gifted horse. He had everything. He had speed. He could carry the speed, and a great mind. So yeah, it was a real honor to be on him, and it's something that I really enjoyed. So no, it was something else, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, it 6 for 6, and nobody was close to him in those 6 races. It was just a phenomenal career, and I remember being down the street when Terry bought the horse down the street. I'll ask you this as well. You get a horse like this, and he starts to go through the career, and it's clear he's very special, and then you get to a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic. Is there a lot of pressure?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, especially the way he ran in the Pacific Classic. It was, it was the first time as a mile and a quarter, and the way he won, it was so impressive that nobody expected him to lose in the Classic.
Yeah.
And so just because of that, as a jockey, that anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a lot of pressure, but the horse it was just too good.
Yeah. I would imagine. I mean, there's a lot of pressure as fans. We're always rooting for horses like that. Keep it going. Keep the undefeated going. And I could imagine when you get on board or being the trainer, I know having talking, Terry and whatnot, the owners, a lot of pressure on them as well. But he played it out. And again, do you have a favorite horse? Would he rank as your favorite, or do you have another one that maybe is a little bit interesting?
Well, it has to be the favorite, but no, there's a lot of horses that I really had fun riding them and learn a lot from them. So it was definitely the most talented one, but there's been a lot of horses where I really had pleasure riding them.
And I always ask jockeys and trainers, you remember your first winner?
I do, yeah. I do. It was in France. It was actually maybe 20 minutes from where I was born. So it was funny. But yeah, I do remember the race.
Family there?
Yeah, my parents were.
How many rides did it take you to get the first win?
Not many, but then it took a little bit more. I think probably about 10.
Okay.
10 rides.
That's pretty close to the BA.
It was in France, we have apprentice races where it's only apprentice.
Oh, okay.
In the race, yeah, and that's what it was, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so that was the first, and there will be many more. Again, great season. Congratulations on the great season up here. As I say, it's not just the wins and whatnot. It's been the stakes wins. It's been phenomenal. You've been one of the kind of the fun stories at the meet, winning all the stakes. So congratulations on a great season up here. And what's the game plan? Just looking at your last years, I was going through Equibase. It seems like, when your New York visit ends, you kind of bounce around the country and visit a few tracks. I'm assuming there'll be some Kentucky Downs?
Yeah, a little bit of Kentucky Downs. I might go one more time to Del Mar, and then I'll go back to Aqueduct and a little bit of Kinlan. And that's after that we kind of
so you were in Oakland a little bit last year.
In the winter, Oakland a few times, fairgrounds, and wherever I can, at that time of the year, try to find a good 3 years old, basically.
Yeah. You and all the other jacks out there, and so we wish you good luck on that as well. But again, congratulations on the really great meet. I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up for Racing Across America, so stay tuned.
Turn your love of racing into savings with equine discounts through the NTRA. Purchase through equine discounts and receive great savings on well-known brands like John Deere, Sherwin-Williams, Big Ass Fans, Farmers Insurance, and Office Depot. Join thousands of other equine members and support companies that give back to the sport we all love. Call 866-678-4289 or visit equinediscounts.com to start saving today.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Welcome back. Just going to wrap it up here on Racing Across America on this Thursday. Don't forget today the Play the Board contest. Tomorrow the Knockout Challenge. Saturday King of the Hill, all down at the Clubhouse Racebook. So keep that in mind. Great day up here. If you want to come up, great day of racing ahead. Should be a lot of fun leading into a great weekend, closing weekend up here at Saratoga. So keep it in mind. Should be a fun last few days after a great first 7 weeks of the meet. All right, going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America, but we will be back tomorrow, Friday, 9 a.m. Handicapper Sport, 10 a.m. Racing Across America. We'll see you then.
You've been watching Racing Across America. Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Also brought to you by Wizard Race and Sports.